connection.
It'll be fine.
issue.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Okay.
I'm sure everything that has gone wrong pre-recording will magically go away during recording. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Drafted. I'm your host, Daniel Prentice, and as always, I am joined by my best pal in the world, and yes, he made me introduce himself as such, Preston Thompson. Preston, how are you doing this week? And what are you drinking, my friend?
Well, Dan, I'm fine. I'm okay. You know what? If I'm being honest with myself, I'm not great.
What's wrong there, bud?
I'm gonna tell you why. You know, I had a lovely wedding. You were there. I think you had a great time.
I was there. It was a lot of fun.
Had a lovely honeymoon. Spent a whole week in the crystal clear waters of the Great Exumas. Only to come back and check our Twitter and find that I got a measly 3% of our vote. And I set a new floor for how bad a performance could be. I knew when we were recording last week that this could rival our Game of Thrones outing by me. Where I think I got maybe 7% of the total vote. 3% is a new bar.
Can I be completely honest with you? I think you were lucky to get that 3%.
Well, if I'm being honest, I didn't vote for me, so I don't know where that 3% came from.
And we put out a call. We said if you vote for Preston this week, you have to join the Discord and tell us why. And that has not happened yet.
No, it's been crickets.
So whoever you are, out yourself, give us the reason.
And I would say thank you, except for the fact that 0% would have made more sense to me in my brain.
Yeah, 3, yeah.
Now I'm just confused.
It was definitely a one person vote. But you know, you can bounce back this week, Preston. I believe in you. I think it's a very strong draft for you and our guest. We are very pleased to welcome back one Hans Appen. He is the publisher of Appen Media and the Appen Podcast Network, of which Drafted is a very proud member. We love being part of the Appen family, and we are very thrilled to have Hans back on the show after that same Game of Thrones episode, actually, that Preston.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of Game of Thrones, I'm back.
I know.
Yeah, he's back, everyone.
Here to kill me
and Hans, I want to. We need to call Hans out here, Preston. We need to call him out.
Okay.
Because he pulled. Speaking of the poll, he tried to pull some shit last time.
He did.
So every week, in order to preserve the sanctity of no spoilers, we will publish our poll for who won when the episode comes out, and then we will wait a few days to actually show what the teams are on Twitter, so people don't know. And Hans, who has a vastly larger Twitter following than us, simply tweeted the poll out and said, "Folks, you know what to do." Yes. And then everyone, of course, went and voted for Hans.
Yeah, which is what NBA players do when they want to win the fan vote to get in the All-Star game. They're like, followers, just come vote for me. Just come vote for me. Like we had people who don't even know who you and I are, don't even know what drafted means, coming in and just smashing that Hans button, and it's not fair.
How's that saying go? Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Ooh.
Well, I will say I did come storming back, that was our most voted poll ever. People saw the injustice, and they stayed in line well past booth closing hours to make sure their vote was counted and make sure the right candidate won.
That definitely doesn't have anything to do with the aforementioned follower count. It's more about the injustice. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. No, but in all seriousness, Hans, we're glad to have you back. But don't pull that bullshit again, okay? We will come for you again.
Well, glad to be back. Thanks for the invite back.
We will take our talents to another network. Don't call our bluff.
No, Preston, don't threaten that, okay? That's too real. We will not do that, Hans. We won't. But Preston, since we've cleared the air and all of the things we all need to clear the air on, what are we drafting this week?
Oh boy, this week we are drafting United States presidents to. What do we think? To create a United Nations? No. To create a better form of government? No. To create the most entertaining WWE SmackDown event you can possibly imagine. We're looking for drama. We're looking for characters. We're looking for athleticism, fanaticism. We're looking for big stunts and big personalities out of this group of 46 I was going to say people, but men out of this group of 46 men. That's what we're looking for.
Well, so actually it's only 45 men.
Oh, that's true.
It's actually only 44 men.
Oh my God.
It's only Wait, how is it only 44?
Who was elected?
Are you
who lost?
Grover Cleveland was elected twice.
Yes.
But that's what I thought took it from 46 to 45. What takes it from 45 to 44?
We're at 46 now.
Okay.
Joe Biden is 46.
President Joe Biden.
Okay. So minus 145.
He's serving as the 46th president, but only the 45th person to hold the office. Yes.
Yeah.
In a clarification that I'm sure everybody cares deeply about at home. So
actually, I do know that friend of the show, Keith Rayner, does care very deeply about this issue.
Okay. Good.
It's something he brings up a lot. But are we good on the parameters of this draft?
I have a question. I have a question actually.
Yeah. What's up, Hans?
So, from a timeline standpoint, are we drafting presidents in the sort of in the
time they served?
The time they served, or is this
in their
prime?
I think we have to.
Okay.
I think we have to. You have to take them in, if you take Jimmy Carter, which I think would be dumb, but if you take Jimmy Carter, you get Jimmy Carter from 1970 to 1970.
As president.
Yes.
When he was president. Yeah, I fully agree with that.
Gotcha.
That was kind of where I was operating. And that's going to make it tough.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our presidents were extremely old and brittle.
Very frail.
Well, and there's some presidents, too, that had some pretty crazy stuff go on in their lives sort of pre-presidency that makes them kind of a badass.
Makes them a wild card.
It makes them a wild card, but then once they're old and actually the president of the United States, they're kind of boring people. So I was curious what the stipulation was
in my mind, once a badass, always a badass. That's what I'm going with.
Okay.
Also, none of us introduced our drinks, but I'm gonna say because they're both drinking non-alcoholic drinks. We're recording this at 1:00 in the afternoon on a Monday,
and I'm in the
office.
Yeah, Hans and I are both in the office, in studio together. So we're drinking an alcoholic beverage inside Hans's building.
But it is Hans's studio. You guys could have turned up if you weren't so cowardly.
We do need like a mini fridge in here with some beer.
I turned up in a way. I went with the blue edition blueberry Red Bull. I got it special for the show. Yeah.
He is turning up. I'm just drinking water. I think Preston is not
iced
drinking
coffee
anything at all.
Iced coffee, baby.
Iced coffee. Okay, well there you go. There's your little beverage update.
Spiked iced coffee.
Now let's get to the draft. Let's just do it. Preston has the #1 pick per the best website in the world. I've not been shouting them out enough in season 2. Random.org. We love them. Hans has the second pick, and then I have the third pick. And as always, snake style draft, so the order will reverse on even rounds. And I love this because everyone has a different spot order than when the three of us drafted last time.
Good point.
So no one has the same spot, which I love.
Yes.
But Preston, if you're all set and we're all good on the parameters of the draft, why don't you go ahead and get us started here with the #1 pick?
Well, this is tough, and I don't like it. But every SmackDown needs a unifying villain. I want the theme of my SmackDown to be 5v1. I want it to be get this dude out of the ring.
I think I might know where you're going with this.
I'm gonna ride the Trump train and get Donald Trump inside the ring. First of all, a couple things here. One, he already has WWE SmackDown experience. He's been on before.
This is true.
He was a very polarizing figure, as you were probably
gotta be the only president that can say that.
Gotta be the only president that has been on WWE SmackDown. I don't even think that's worth a Google. But you had, George Bush, Republican, Barack Obama, Democrat, both condemning this man. He's a unifying figure in polarization. He's actually not very polarizing because everybody else I draft is going to hate him. So it's a great villain opportunity to bring him in the door. So I hate that I am giving him more airtime than he deserves, but I think it's going to make for a more entertaining event. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump is the clear #1 pick in this draft. On my draft board, it was Donald Trump and then everybody else.
Probably the only draft in which he would be a #1 pick, I hope, that we ever do on this show.
The only presidential draft, anyway. The only context. No, he is the clear #1 pick. He's the ultimate heel. And, I mean, who among the drafted audience, anyway, isn't going to be tuning in to see Donald Trump get his ass kicked?
Oh, yeah, baby. Absolutely.
It's a strong first pick. I was hoping you were going to, fall into the trap of wanting to pick an athlete or something like that, of which Trump is clearly not.
No.
And never has been.
Avid golfer.
Yeah.
Yeah, is golf not a sport, Daniel?
No,
I think,
it's not.
I think
Golf is a game.
the distance between golf and WWE SmackDown is vast.
It is quite large. But yeah, I think Preston does the right thing and takes Donald Trump with his first pick. Also, definitely gonna take out of context for the rest of time Preston saying, I'm gonna jump on the Trump train, which is how he introduced that pick.
Show intro right there.
Forgot about that.
So yeah. For like the rest of every episode that we ever do.
That has some career consequences.
So, Daniel, I want to throw just a possible wrinkle into this pick. So
Okay.
I think it's the clear number one pick, but depending on what your audience, and depending on who your audience is, this could potentially come back to bite Preston in the butt. He is a very polarizing.
It depends on the
person.
drafted voters, I think.
But there's some people who will never vote for Donald Trump for anything.
In any context.
Yes.
You think
fair.
You think
That's
just
fair.
having him on the Twitter with his picture up there will mean people are like, oh hell no. And they
That's
vote for
true.
somebody
With
else.
first pick, he is number one. But the thing is, what's going to be fun, you're going to be able to find him as a picture from his WWE appearance, probably.
Yes, this is true.
I'm
Very
just
appropriate.
saying he could be a 3-time popular vote loser.
Ooh.
All right, good call. Make it happen, people. Make it happen.
Come
That's a great call, Hans. He would be the first president to ever do that. So let's make it happen. But Hans, now how are you going to follow up what we have all deemed Preston's pick to be as like the correct pick? What is who's the number 2 president off the board?
So y'all are probably going to make fun of me for this one, but I think it is an obvious segue from number 1 Donald Trump, but it's also kind of a personal pick for me. Like, I always thought if I were ever given the chance to draft Barack Obama onto my drafted WWE president's draft board, I got to take it.
This is a dream of yours.
It has always been a dream of mine. So with the number 2 pick, I have absolutely no reservations with taking Barack Hussein Obama onto my team.
I don't hate this. I mean, he's a naturally
good pick. It's a
gifted
fine pick.
athlete. We know this. And you know, you get that part.
He's a phenomenal orator, which is a very key part of kind of building the drama for wrestling.
Great point.
The one, and I think Hans sniping Obama here is key.
Hold on. For the Secret Service agents listening in, Daniel meant figuratively. Let's be very clear about this.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you. I just immediately red laser dot on my head out of nowhere.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Preston. I think it's key to disrupting Preston's empire.
Exactly.
That's true. I wanted the rivalry.
He clearly wanted the Barrio Trump matchup. You know, that's what everyone's tuning in to. So I think, you know, almost more than anything else, preventing that is a really makes this a really strong pick.
Yeah. No, I like it. And like I said, probably the most athletic. Well, up there for the most athletic. Definitely in the time of his presidency.
He's definitely not the most athletic.
Fairly young, but yeah.
Definitely
not the most athletic. But he's athletic enough.
Interesting.
I don't want to reveal too much, but there are some like genuine athletes that were president, like played like very high level.
But at the
D1
time they were
sports.
president, they've got to be past that prime a little bit.
Oh, you're saying in the presidency? Okay, I see what you're saying. I could maybe buy that.
You know, sometimes you play high level sports when you're younger. By the time you get to be president, you know, those knees are given out. You know.
Sure.
So.
Okay, that I'll maybe give a little more wiggle room on. Okay, this falls to me, and I'm glad to say I had 2 presidents in my S tier, and 1 is still left. And the other S tier president I'm taking here is the only president, to my knowledge, that was renowned for his wrestling prowess, and that is Abraham Lincoln.
Yep. That was if he had made it back to me, that's a winner right there. That's a winning team. Because yes, was like played for like the collegiate championship wrestling team or something back in the early days of wrestling. You know, I
just know that he wrestled a bunch and was apparently pretty good at it.
He was very good at it. I mean, and he's huge. Isn't he very tall?
Very tall, like a very prominent figure, and already kind of a character of himself, you know, in like the way we view him. So he's kind of perfect to like playing that role. He also has an incredible wrestling nickname, Honest Abe.
Ooh,
amazing wrestler nickname. So I love that for it as well.
I had some hesitations about taking any presidents who died while in office, though, for my team.
Well, it wasn't his fault. It's not like he, you know, had a heart attack. You know, there was something pretty
I
nasty going
I am
on
going to
there.
say that I get pre-assassination Abe here.
Well, yes,
I do
as
think so.
opposed to post. Yes, I think so. I think we'll give that one to you. No, Hans, I think that's a little bit of victim blaming there. So we'll let him be on that one. But no, I mean, I like in this draft going for the iconic looks, and his is probably the most iconic of looks in terms of like attire and his kind of silhouette. This like tall, lanky figure.
Get the top hat.
Get the top hat in there. Absolutely.
Good props.
Yeah. Great costume. Like I said, great nickname. Just a great personality, and he's got the wrestling prowess. So thrilled to get old honest Abe with final pick of the first round. And now I have two presidents left in my A tier, and I feel like they'll probably both be gone for my next pick. So I'm not going to hem and haw over which one could fall back to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the one that I think would be best, and that is Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes.
Another great character. I believe he was the youngest president to serve, right? I think JFK was the youngest elected or something, but I can never remember the exact history. But he's one of the youngest people to ever serve. So he was still a strapping young man in the White House, and just known for being. We talked about this. Once a badass, always a badass. And I don't think we've ever had a more badass president, objectively speaking, than Teddy Roosevelt. Great outdoorsman, great athlete. He survived being shot in the chest, which is incredible. And I found this quote about him that was written in the Harvard Crimson, because apparently he was a bit of an amateur boxer.
Yes.
And the Crimson said he's made up of the fierceness and ability to withstand punishment, that what he lacked in skill. So he was not a particularly skillful boxer, but he could take a beating, and that's a very important thing in a wrestling bout. So I think it's a great pick. That's I'm gonna say it.
I would have taken Teddy Roosevelt at the 3 spot or 4 spot there for sure. That's a solid pick. I think one of the most interesting people. So he's got to be president. He's got this aura around him. His leisure activities, like our presidents of today, they were not like golf, or tennis. He was going out to kill things. He was like, I'm going to go ride my horse through a mountain, and then I'm going to shoot something. So if that's what he's doing on his day off.
Something that could kill me if I miss.
Oh yeah. So I'm going to wait for it to charge me before I really engage with it. Yeah. No, I think that's a great pick.
He actually boxed in the White House to the extent that he actually, I think he had a detached retina at one point.
He would make his aides bout him.
No way.
He went blind in one eye from boxing, and then actually because of that switched to
Jiu-jitsu,
and became a jiu-jitsu master while in the White House.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you, Hans, for selling my pick even more than I already did.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's missed yet. I think we're
these have all been good picks. It gets rough later on based on how I tiered the presidents, so I think that's where the draft is looking.
It gets bad real fast.
But so far, no one has ruined it so far. But now, that's a lot of pressure for Hans, so I do apologize for setting up your next pick with that.
I'm gonna go down my board a little bit, and I'm gonna take President William Taft with my next pick.
Going with the iconic looks.
The big dude.
Big boy.
He was actually a heavyweight wrestling champion at Yale.
Was he really? I missed that in my research.
6 feet tall. He weighed 243 pounds. I think I've got sort of the athletic, young, skinny guy in Barack Obama. I'm going to switch it up and go with kind of the big, heavy guy with my number 2 there.
I can visualize this perfectly. I can paint this picture in my mind. If he's in the old style wrestling leotard and just this, he's he's the Andre 3000 style character where he's just this Hulk mass of a man. He has this legend about him too. Everybody tells that story about how he was in the bathtub and it fell through the floor, which by all indications is not true. But it's this these stories that are built up about his raw size and strength. So I like it. I don't think that's a reach at all. I had him pretty high on my board.
So I think my concern with Taft would be lack of familiarity for the crowd. What's his narrative other than he's big and kind of fat?
Well, but that is kind of the narrative. He fits a very specific role on my roster here.
Yeah.
You're not gonna there are no presidents who come anywhere close to William Taft as far as size and just presence.
Yeah. I don't follow wrestling really, but I am picturing a guy. Is his name like Big Country or no? He's a UFC fighter. But there's some enormous man who I feel like typically wears the single leotard. And he's like bald and has a humongous beard. I want to say.
I know who you're talking about, and yeah, that's kind of
we
what
all know
I'm
who I'm
visualizing.
talking about, but no one knows his name, right?
Also,
that's your Taft role.
The mustache. Yeah. The mustache is iconic.
Yeah, great facial hair.
The mustache,
absolutely.
Yeah, the mustache is big. Okay, so Taft another strong pick. I admittedly had him much lower on my board, but it sounds like Preston had him pretty high as well. And just from a pure physical stature standpoint, I do think it's a solid. It's a spot you need to have, I think. But Preston, you started off with Donald Trump, and you teased the next 5 were all going to be going 5-on-1 on Trump. So who are the first 2 that are going to just beat the snot out of Donald Trump in your SmackDown?
So I recognize there are some health concerns here, but I want the narrative. The narrative. And I'm taking the father, George Washington.
Oh, okay.
I need it.
I think that's a great pick.
He's a sizable gentleman. He's pretty big. He's got a lot of combat experience, and but he carries with him, he's the marquee, right? Like if we're talking like a festival lineup, Washington versus Trump, like that's, I feel like I read a bunch of Huffington Post articles with that headline like last year. So no, I think this is a good get. I like it.
I think it's huge. I mean, George Washington is like the number 2 mascot of the entire United States behind Uncle Sam, I would say. Maybe you could even argue ahead of Uncle Sam.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. No, I
see it as like Trump comes in with like the MAGA hat and everything, and then Washington just comes in full just America suit and just smacks him down.
Well, I want the garb. I want the Continental Congress garb, the blue and the gold buttons. Like that's what I need. And just like how you're gonna have Teddy on like horseback with the hat, I need my full garb, and I want him to have a saber. Like I want the whole 9. But he has
let me sell this. Even though this is not my team, but entry music, you have him come in with a drummer and a flute player playing Yankee Doodle Dandy as he comes in.
Oh yes.
Right?
Oh, the ambiance that
puts
creates.
His wood teeth in like he's ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, he's got some health concerns. Notoriously near the end of his presidency, he was not a super healthy guy.
I didn't realize he died 2 years after leaving the office.
Yeah. So, but at the beginning, he's basically fresh off the war, and that probably leaves a couple scars, but that means he's in pretty good shape. So,
yeah, I think this is a great pick, even if athletically speaking, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Just name cachet and like the image people have of George Washington is going to gain a ton of votes, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I mean, those first 2, I'm just like, I feel so happy about it. But now, I feel like I'm lacking in the athleticism. So I'm going to very quickly try and make up for that.
What are you trying to say about Donald Trump, Preston?
Well, listen. Nothing. I'm just, yeah.
No, go ahead.
No. I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to take what might be a surprise for some people, President Gerald Ford.
Interesting.
Yeah.
President Ford was a collegiate athlete. Daniel, do you know the details here? I'm in the studio, so I'm not at my computer, but like he was a very solid collegiate athlete. Do you have the details for me?
I do. Well, I do. And this is like this is where my brain went when you said that Barack Obama was the most athletic president.
Right. This would
Gerald
be the
Ford
only competitor.
was a back-to-back national football champion with the University of Michigan in the early 1930s. He was their starting center. So he was a very good college football player in his day. I mean, obviously college football looked very, very different with what is going on nearly 100 years ago now, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, I mean, spectacular athlete. I think he has to be considered the most athletic person to have ever served as president of the United States.
The issue I run into here, and I always do this on this stupid show, is I talk against myself as soon as I make a pick. But I'm trying to get ahead of the people that are being contrarians at home. He doesn't bring a lot of personality to the table.
I would say
muscle.
Zero.
Yeah,
zero personality.
Potentially the most forgettable of all presidents that are going to be drafted today. But he's got the muscle, and I really desperately needed that. Like I needed somebody who would actually like live up to a little bit of the hype of what we're trying to do here. So I still feel good about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is part of why I wanted to stipulate rules before we started the show, because, if you're going for the athletic pick, I can maybe even think of a couple others who in office were more athletic than Gerald Ford.
If only
in
just because they
office.
were younger, maybe. But yeah, I want Ford to come out in his football gear. Like, this is what I'm seeing. So I want Donald Trump.
Like his old Letterman jacket.
I want Donald Trump to come out in his suit with his red tie that goes down to his knees. That's what I want for him. Very basic. But I want Washington in his military garb, and I want Ford in his pads and helmet that he'll probably have to remove before the fighting starts.
So yeah, I do think it's a bit of a reach. I think I err with Hans a little bit. He was on my board, so I think he was going to be picked.
He was not on mine.
He was not on yours at all.
On your board.
Nope.
Wow.
But yeah, it does feel a little early. The thing is, you bring so much personality to your first two picks. I think it's a very strong fit for Preston. And listen, we didn't have these presidents run through the combine. We don't know exactly how athletic they were. I mean, none of us were even alive when Gerald Ford was president, right? So I think it's fair to envision vice president. I think it's fair to envision Ford as probably the most athletic president.
Yeah, I think so.
Regardless of how far removed he was from his athletic career when he was in the White House. I think it's fair.
All right. Hans, I think that puts us back to you. Yeah.
All right.
It is Hans' turn, yeah.
So with my next pick, Preston got the clear kind of villain of the draft in Donald Trump.
Yeah.
100%. And I think I need sort of that villain role on my team. And I think there's a clear number 2. And I want to go ahead and snag him, and that is Richard Nixon.
Ooh, okay.
I like it.
He's got a big personality. He can fill that villain role for me. I think that's a good fit with what I'm going for here.
Now,
it's a great fit. He's a great villain, a great wrestling villain, a great heel.
he was a good villain before Watergate, but you do not get Watergate, presumably, right?
Well, Watergate happened while he was. Yeah,
he did it while he was president.
Okay. I mean, I still like it. Just
I mean, if you get Gerald Ford athleticism 30 years before presidency, I certainly get Watergate.
Sure. Okay. I mean, it's a big personality, and you needed that a little bit. And I like the Barack Obama versus Tricky Dick shaping up. I think that's going to be.
I was just about to bring that up. Another phenomenal wrestler nickname.
Tricky Dick.
Tricky Dick.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, the marquee for you is pretty good.
You put Barry O versus Tricky Dick on a poster?
I don't know about Barry O.
Tell me who's not showing up.
That's the first time I've ever heard Barry O, so I don't know about that one.
There's no way that's true.
No,
really. Did people
There's
actually
no
call him
way
that?
you've never heard Barry O.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Okay. All right. Well, I guess
this guy says this guy who runs the Georgia Politics podcast has got his finger to the political pulse.
Yeah.
Since he's never heard the nickname Barry O.
Didn't do a lot of work with the Obamas. Unfortunately.
You've heard Barry O. You're forgetting. You were so scarred by the Trump administration that
That's true.
I've
forgotten
your
everything
brain doesn't work
good in this world.
Join the club. Yeah.
I like the Nixon pick a lot. He's a clear villain, one of the top heels. It kind of leaves me not knowing where to go for my next pick, because now I just feel like there's just a bunch of unathletic dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now all of these men are fundamentally broken that we've drafted from here on out.
Yeah. And it's tough because I do feel like if we were doing if you could get pre-presidency characters, I think there's a very clear pick. And maybe that reveals who I'm thinking of. But he was just so old and clearly senile while in the White House. I don't know that I want to pick him. First though, I think what I will do is I will try to cover all of the generations, the iconic generations of presidency, and I will dip into the Thomas Jefferson pick here.
Ooh.
Mostly for name recognition.
Yes.
Recognition. I mean, he was another tall guy, I feel. Mm-hmm. Another great orator, very opinionated. I think he would be very good at hamming it up and playing to a role in the ring. I don't know, exactly how athletic he would be, but at the end of the day, probably none of these guys are that athletic because they're all old white men in their 60s and 70s. So I'm going Thomas Jefferson mostly for the character that I think he can play.
You stole this one from me. I was going to take Jefferson next, mainly because if you read his writing, it's what you want out of a WWE SmackDown. He's the guy that's going to come in about halfway through the event, and he's going to take the mic from Vince McMahon in this universe. I'm guessing Vince McMahon is probably still running this. He's going to take the mic from Vince McMahon and have this, 8-minute rant of basically a diss track where he's, going around the room talking about everybody and their families and all this stuff. I mean, him and Adams were notoriously just cruel to each other over letters.
Yeah.
So
and Adams is a little too old for me to pick. But yeah, Jefferson will verbally cripple his opponents.
Yeah. Since we mentioned him, I think Adams might be the worst pick of this entire group of presidents. And I'm really hoping one of you still decides to pick him.
Well, now no one's going to take it.
He was just this tiny, stubby, very
ancient old man.
Yeah, who nobody really liked. Even the people who voted for him didn't really like him all that much. Yeah, no, but I do think Jefferson is a great pick, if only for the kind of what was that? There was an old MTV show called Your Mama or something, where two dudes would just go make
I think it was just Yo Mama. Yeah.
That's the energy he's bringing to this SmackDown, and I love it.
I like it.
All right, Hans is on board as well. That makes me feel good. I have to stay true to my tiers here, and with my next pick. Now, I will say I feel like I'm not creating a ton of, I'm not bringing a ton of inherent rivalry necessarily with these picks. I feel like a lot of these guys were probably would have been on the same side of a lot of things if they were all alive at the same time. But I am going to go with just for big name brand recognition, big character, great speaker who I think would be able to play a great character, and that is John F. Kennedy.
Yes. I think the last of the icons, maybe.
Yep.
Maybe we'll have a couple more, but
I think there's at least one more.
Well, you get the the people making impressions, like this is a true cultural figure here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I like that.
And again, I have fallen into this weird trap of Hans's, which I've taken another president who was assassinated.
Oh, that's true.
That is true.
Man. Yeah, my team's starting to look better in that sense.
Now Preston agrees with me.
No, a very young guy who could probably hold his
also
own.
was very athletic. He played football for his freshman year at Harvard. It was just generally an athletic guy, even into his time at the White House as well. But again, that's a bonus to me. For me, it's more about characters, and I think there have been very few characters as colorful as JFK was.
He was a pop star president for sure.
He also had his Camelot, so you probably can't bring that into this, but he's gonna have his posse. They won't necessarily fight in the ring, but they're going to be there. They're and that's
I do like Bobby. Bobby's rubbing the shoulders and doing he doesn't just want to hurt you, he wants to murder you. I like the Bobby Kennedy in the corner of the ring. Yeah, I like that. He gets the hype crowd, and definitely a guy that's going to get the crowd on his side for sure.
But he also has a really bad back.
And he's very small. What position did he play at Harvard? Because he's tiny.
I don't remember. He only played 1 year. He only played his freshman year.
It's also Harvard, so
yeah. That's fair.
Not like Gerald.
He was a military guy too, so he may have had a tough back. He was a tough guy. He was a tough son of a bitch. That JFK.
Yep. I like it. That's who I was going to go with next. You've now sniped my picks back to back, but I think those were probably obvious. That didn't seem super out of left field.
Yeah, I agree. Hans, how about you? What do you got lined up for us with your fourth pick of the draft?
Well, and I would have to agree that I think he was the last of the iconic presidents. Y'all got...
Hans is now, I can see his computer just looking at headshots of different presidents here. He's
just
scrolling
Washington.
through them. He's just I really don't know.
You got Abraham Lincoln. Thomas Jefferson's gone. JFK's gone. I know... Daniel, I think you said there's maybe one left. I don't know that there's one left. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I don't know that I'm going to have that truly iconic role on my team. I'm going to do something a little different. Since I've got Barack Obama, I'm going to get his tag team here and draft Joe Biden with my fourth pick.
Whoa.
Interesting selection.
I had Joe Biden in F tier.
He was not on my list, which means I also had him on F tier.
Listen, I'm on board for President Joe Biden's agenda for sure.
Biden, sorry, Hans, you were not aware of this yet, which is very fair. But on this podcast, he is Joe Biden.
It's J apostrophe Biden, President Joe Biden. Yeah. But it does seem
canon.
The thing that worries me most about the presidency of Joe Biden is that he has to walk upstairs to get to the residency every day. That's what really has me concerned.
Okay, Tucker Carlson.
That is so unfair. That is so unfair to Joe Biden.
Listen. Can you tell me they don't have a stair lift in the White House right now? Have you seen it?
I've seen him do push-ups on national.
He is. I kid. He's actually like more in shape than his age probably should lend him to.
For a man on death's door, he's in great shape. Okay.
He's actually probably more in shape than his age should give him credit for, and you know, I will say, he does not bring even with the health concerns. He does not bring a lot of personality to it. Like. Very much a kind of milk toasty. You don't think he can
work that into his gimmick?
He's gonna pull the aviators out, throw them on his face. He's gonna tag team in there with Barack Obama.
Yeah, that's the reason this pick works for me, and probably the only reason this works for me is that you have Biden and Obama. Yeah, who basically should have their own kind of like buddy cop show at this point.
And I think that's fair. And I'll be honest, I did not have Joe Biden on my draft board, but when all these very notable historical figures were off the board, I switched up gears and just, we're going with something a little different.
Yeah, I think it's a fine fit for the lineup you have because you have Barack Obama. The thing is, I think you could have gotten him 6th round because he's the oldest man to have ever been president, right?
Yes.
As Preston said, I'm scrolling through looking for folks here, Daniel. You assume I had somebody else ready for this one.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, I mean, the Biden pick probably isn't as bad as Preston and I are making it out to be, but I there's no way he survives any moves against him.
Not one.
Like, there's just no way.
Not one. It'll be great leading up to when the fight actually starts, but then he better find a very snug corner.
Okay. You know what? I need to become a writer for WWE, I think, because I've got a brilliant idea. Barrio fighting whoever, whichever, I don't want to pick his opponent yet because Hans hasn't finished his team. But then Biden comes out from the curtain and tag teams in and then just does the finishing move on whoever is about to finish Barrio. So he never has to take a hit.
Clearly Barrio versus Donald Trump with Joe Biden coming.
Well, you can't. I have Donald Trump.
Yeah, you can't do that though because Preston has Trump.
We'll work out a crossover deal. Right. After the show, we'll work out a crossover deal. Yeah.
At least at the halftime break, we're gonna all write our script scenarios for our first big event with our wrestling leagues.
Yes.
But it's just something to marinate on there, Hans, for you. Okay. A little freebie. Preston, you now have again back-to-back picks.
Well, my strategy is audible just a little bit. But I really like where it's going. I think if you follow the Trump presidency, you know that he has a distrust and a hate for military generals. And so far, everybody I have besides Donald Trump, which is only 2 people, have military experience. And for George Washington, it's an undersell. He's like the godfather of military experience. I'm going to take 2 more, and I'm going to make this a theme show of Trump versus the generals. By the way, Ford I think he was a lieutenant commander in the Navy sometime in World War II. I believe that's right. So I'm going to take, as a pair here, it doesn't matter which order to me, Ulysses S. Grant and Dwight D. Eisenhower. I want everybody in their military garb. I want every generation of the U.S. military to come beat the crap out of the most villainous person to probably ever grace that, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, if that's the right address. I want all the generals. And Hans threw his hands up in disbelief there. Did I steal one of your picks?
Yeah, you stole both of my picks.
Ooh, ooh, a twofer.
Yeah,
that's a toughie, Hans. You hate to see that. I like the Eisenhower pick a lot. I think we're kind of to the tier where Eisenhower should be being taken. His only knock is that he's also extremely old.
Yes.
When he's president, so
yes.
he's pretty far removed from like the military badass.
But he is
just like the character he can play with just the million of like military medals,
the
on
comically
his jacket.
large accolades.
Yeah.
Yes. I think outside of George Washington, he's probably the most decorated military president we've ever had. So I like the
maybe more than Washington. I mean, he was the Allied commander in World War II. So.
Yeah.
You could have like a little like anti-Nazi,
big
Hitler
time
theme going on too. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like the Eisenhower pick a lot. Grant was a little further on my list, but he clearly does have that same military acumen.
Just is
so
tough.
I 100%.
He's got the grit.
Kind of leaning into that.
Did you have Lincoln or did Daniel have Lincoln?
Daniel
I
has
have Lincoln. I have Lincoln.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that would have been a good tag team as well.
That
Lincoln,
also would have.
By the time y'all get back to me, I got to find another military man. So.
There's an obvious one. I don't know if he's gonna make it back to you though. But Hans, in the meantime, you have your 5th pick of the draft. After apparently having the two guys you wanted taken right from underneath your feet.
Yeah, y'all are killing me. So I mentioned I kind of missed out on the iconic presidents. Now I feel like I've kind of missed out on the military presidents with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. You know what? I'm just going to go with another character. I think I'm going to go with another old-timer, Ronald Reagan, with my
that's a great pick, Hans.
Yeah.
I think you have to do it.
The last... I think this...
You're already leaning into the oldness of your team.
As I was saying it, I realized I had Joe Biden on my team. So we are definitely leaning into the old-timers.
Yeah, when I said all the icons were gone, I was forgetting about Reagan. Yeah. Good call. And
he's also like a Hollywood, California guy. He can put on a show.
Actor.
Yeah,
he's an actual actor.
Very funny.
I should say.
Very funny. He's got a quick wit about him too, so he'd have a lot of clapbacks. People talking smack.
Another good nickname, Gipper.
Ooh, the Gipper.
Win-win for the Gipper.
You have some
I like
great nicknames.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have none.
Great nickname lineup. Yeah, I mean, and he's one of the most popular presidents of all time. So you're gonna get a lot of people tuning in just to see old Ronnie, old Ronnie Riggs. Mm-hmm. Clearly the athletic. He was athletic in his day. That by the time he was president, clearly long since were they gone. But I think this is a great pick. And this is the guy who I was considering to be an icon, like on par with the others we were mentioning. So I think if you took Reagan in your previous round and then Biden this pick, it's weird how the draft works out that way. Where it's like where people get picked can kind of form like how the team feels. But I think getting Reagan in round 5 is a pretty big steal. I got to be honest.
Yes, agreed.
Nice.
So Hans recovers there. A nice comeback story from Hans. I now have two presidents left, both in my C tier. So it makes a lot of sense for me to have them be my last 2 picks. So first, I said last round that I don't have a villain. I think there is one best villain left. If Reagan failed to me, I was going to turn him into a villain because I think he had disastrous politics that set us on a bad downward course that we're still reeling from to this day. But it probably wouldn't have been a great fit because people love him. Not to get too political on the show, but anyway. I am going to take Andrew Jackson, who I think behind Donald Trump is probably the actual worst person, maybe even ahead of Donald Trump, if we're being quite honest, and not, having too much recency bias. It's just one of the most despicable men to ever hold the office. So he also was very old by the time he was president, so I think a lot of people would really enjoy him just getting his ass absolutely handed to him in a wrestling ring.
I was trying to throw you off the scent. My plan was to take Jackson with the last pick and do a 4v2 instead of a 5v1. Because Trump and Jackson famously have this weird relationship where Trump would say Jackson is his favorite president, which is a really just terrible choice. I don't understand how you looked at that list and were like, yeah, this guy. So
it makes sense considering the source.
Well, sure, yeah, but it would have been a great pairing, and I was super hoping that you guys would let that one fall all the way, but no. Dang.
So I'm just taking all of Preston's picks. I'd love to hear that. Hans, do you have any thoughts on the Jackson selection here?
Yeah, I mean it's a great pick. I think it's a great value this late in the draft. I mean he's an ex-military guy. You've got a lot of villain qualities there. I mean he was just notoriously just a really bigoted, racist person. Killed a lot of Indians.
Emphatically so.
Yeah, there's a little bit of Similar issue with what I've got with William Taft, where you kind of got to educate the audience a little bit on who this guy is. But
my hope is that like the drafted voting community is aware of Jackson because he's such a heel. That's my hope. But I agree. I think he slid because he doesn't have quite the same like immediate like iconism as a lot of the other presidents.
And to Preston's point, I mean, he has gotten to be a little bit better known recently because of Donald Trump's kind of obsession with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's my my penultimate selection, and then I will wrap up here with one George W. Bush, the younger of the Bush brothers. I think he's another great character. He also was an athlete in his day. Big fan of baseball. Played some baseball in college, and just really kind of needle-ish and annoying in a lot of ways. And I think as kind of like a secondary villain in my league behind Jackson, I think will really thrive in that role.
Man, I'm just so thrown off. I don't know how I'm gonna finish this.
Was that another pick you wanted?
He's also kind of sneaky athletic.
Yeah, exactly. Sneaky athletic.
Well, if I'm, it kind of was, to answer your question, Daniel, because if I'm going for people who have recognizable military experience, not just like reservist, George W. Bush is one of those. So he was on the short list to try and hit this new theme I'm trying to go to, but I may have to abandon that theme now altogether.
I feel great about my team. I gotta say, we'll be able to talk about it more in the second half of the show. But I am very pleased to have W be my last pick there. Hans, what are you gonna do with your last pick? I feel like you really bounced back with your last pick, and you finished strong with your final one.
I know. There he goes, scrolling through the list again.
Just making sure I'm not missing anybody.
Take Carter. Do it.
You know what? Since
don't do it. That's dumb.
I'm going to continue this little theme I've picked up with Obama, Joe Biden, and I'm going to add George H.W. Bush.
H.W.
With
the better
my last
athlete
pick
of the
here.
two Bushes.
Yeah, and
in his day.
Also the much more qualified person for president. I mean, he was
not that really matters in this universe.
No, not at all.
But he's got the CIA thing going for him. He was ambassador to the UN. Like I said, he was Reagan's VP, so we've got kind of a Reagan-Bush versus Obama, Joe Biden.
That's actually very cool.
Going on.
Now that you mention that.
So yeah, I like it with my last pick.
I didn't think about that pairing off, but that makes a lot of sense now.
Again, though, leaning into the very, very old final
I definitely
choices.
have the oldest team going here.
Certainly true.
Yeah, which is fine. It's your brand. I think at a certain point you just got to lean into your brand. So
yeah, you'll have all the people there are going to be really messed up because they're just coming to watch somebody get seriously injured.
Brittle bones on Hans' team.
Yes.
Preston, what is the final pick of the Presidents to Form a Wrestling League draft?
I'm going to slightly abandon my general's theme because he wasn't a general, but he had military experience. But really, I'm taking this one for the personality. And the personality while they were in office was just being a huge pain in everybody's side, just like a huge ass. And that's LBJ. Famously had like a terrible mouth, just like an artisan of swear words. So I think it makes a lot of sense for WWE's personality. Like outward facing while he was president, didn't have a big personality, but now like that we have some distance from it, was just a fantastic smack talker and a manipulator and a schemer. Like, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for the WWE drama to have LBJ in there.
Also a pretty big guy.
Yeah, it seems like an athlete. I don't know like about his athletic history, but he was large. And he would famously stand very close to senators to make them feel smaller when he was trying to negotiate with people. So he's got like some of that showmanship in his blood.
Is there any way you can get like Henry Kissinger to tag team in for LBJ?
Yeah, talk about frail people though. I don't know about that.
What
he belongs
a great
in
villain!
Hans's,
You would be able to add to your villain lineup.
Yeah,
though.
Kissinger would be an interesting villain to throw in there.
Yeah.
But I ended up with a 5v1 here, and I feel
I think
pretty
that's
good
what the
about
people
it.
wanted, Preston.
I think so. I think so. And I think Trump like Hans was talking about Kennedy bringing his what did you call it? His like entourage,
Camelot.
his Camelot. I think Trump bringing out, Kellyanne Conway and Scaramucci. Scaramucci would make a fantastic WWE like side character. Like
you got to throw Trump Jr. in there too.
Oh, absolutely. Let's bring in the whole family to get their absolute butts whooped by like actual military people.
That is strong. That is very strong. And because then you can make it like a 5v5 Royal Rumble type deal, Oh,
I love that. There's nobody in that cabinet you could add that would help Trump there, but I think that's what people want. The disaster here is they show up and somehow, Trump cheats the system and wins. But we're gonna make sure that doesn't happen.
You can't put it past him. But we'll discuss the teams in more depth after a quick break. But first, here are the teams. Preston has Donald Trump, George Washington, Gerald Ford, Ike, Dwight Eisenhower, Ulysses S. Grant, and Lyndon Baines Johnson. Hans has Barack Barry O. Obama, William Howard Taft, Richard Nixon, Joe Biden, old Ronnie Reagan himself, and H-Dub, George the First Bush. And then I have old Honest Abe Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Thomas Jefferson, JFK, Andrew Jackson, and George W. Bush the Jr. So we will be right back after a quick break to break down those teams in just a second. Okay, we are back, and as always, we got to ask a couple questions here about the teams. First of all, what was the worst pick of the draft? Hans, why don't we start with you, if you have one at the ready?
I think it was the Gerald Ford pick.
Why?
I really do. I think it's a very vanilla pick. I don't know that he really brings... I mean, I feel like the biggest argument for Gerald Ford was his athleticism, and I think his athleticism is kind of being overstated here.
National champion starting center for a Big Five power school. Back to back.
Yeah, but...
in a time where they didn't even wear helmets.
Stipulating that we are drafting the president during his time as president.
That's fair.
I mean, he can bring it back for one night of magic. You know what I mean? And like,
I do think it was a little high for Gerald Ford, I would say. Like, I think like you can argue the athleticism later in the draft, as like a sneaky pick, and people are probably more willing. But as like your third pick, like I feel like you still want headliners at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe you're right. So maybe we switch up the order. It doesn't look so bad. Yeah, but I mean, you guys were going to take him. I mean, Daniel, you were certainly going to take him.
I would have. I mean, I maybe like I feel like everyone that I took, I had higher on my list. So I had 6 people that I liked more than Gerald Ford. But Gerald Ford was in my list of pickable presidents.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and fire back here and say that I think the worst pick was Joe Biden.
Yeah, I agree.
I like Mr. Joe Biden, but oh my God.
We love Joe Biden on draft.
We love Joe Biden.
We love him.
But not for fighting.
Not for this.
Not for this.
My pushback is it was very specific to my team. If I didn't have Barry O, I would not have drafted.
And I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. You ended up with some cool pairings
I agree.
that I like a lot. But
I just think you have to take him later in that case. I think he has to be like your 6th pick. And that's the thing. I feel like if you bring it in 6th pick, I feel like we love the pick.
Yeah.
But like 4th round, when like the rest of us are still kind of doing like the meat of our team, if you would come in last pick, you're like, and you know what? I'm fucking picking Joe Biden to pair with Barry O, my number 1 pick. We'd be like, oh my God, that's incredible. I didn't even consider him. He's so ancient old, but I love it. And like, so like it just changes the perception of the whole pick.
I feel like that's fair. And it's hard to dub somebody the worst pick at 6. It's like, well, what do you want me to do?
Exactly.
It's my last pick.
Right.
I get it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And if the worst pick of the draft was in the last round, then you did
makes
pretty
sense.
good.
Yep.
But I think I have to side with Preston that it's Joe Biden. But I definitely see the merits to Hans' argument that Gerald Ford was at best a stretch, like at best a reach for where he was taken. Was there a president that got left on your boards? I know this is probably not the case for Hans, who, as Preston said, was rapidly scrolling through the list of presidents on Google.
Which he's also got a piece of paper next to him where it looks like he did a lot of prep. But then just like suddenly started panicking halfway through. He's got a full page of notes.
I was making sure I wasn't missing anything.
Oh Lord.
Cut me some slack.
Double checking.
I will say the only person I had left on my board was Zachary Taylor.
Interesting.
Another good nickname. His nickname was Old Rough and Ready.
Ooh, that's a phenomenal wrestling. I did not know that about Zachary.
Yeah,
you know, great military background.
Well, great. Yeah.
I mean, he was infamous for his military.
He was
background.
he would make a great villain, actually. I think, because I considered Zachary Taylor too, which was going to be my answer here, because I think he did have a very prestigious military background, but it was what we would call today the bad guys. So
infamous.
Yeah, but so he'd make a great villain.
Yeah, and I decided against it because of the whole idea we talked about with a couple picks where older president, nobody knows who he is. Yeah, you got to kind of introduce him. So that's why he got left off my.
For sure.
Yeah, and I actually this is a cop out in a way. I didn't have anyone on my board that didn't get picked. I only had 15 on my board, and I kind of regret. Like I didn't have Taft on my board actually, and I kind of regret that. I didn't know that he was a wrestling champ. And I think I kind of undersold like his heftiness as being a strong selling point. But it really got rough after the first like 12 or 13 presidents on the board. There just weren't a whole lot of presidents that seemed to have much in the yeah.
Can I throw a name out there that did not get drafted, but I'd be curious y'all's take on why not?
Yeah.
I mean, Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
You know, one of the younger guys, so we talked about. I mean, I think Bill Clinton during his presidency was probably more athletic than Gerald Ford during his presidency.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
I mean, he plays the sax, so you got like a saxophone intro.
Nothing screams athleticism like playing the sax. Am I right?
There's also Scandal, so you know he could be kind of a villain or the hero, you know, depending on where you want to take it.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like he could have fit a lot of roles, but obviously none of us took him.
I thought about it. I really did, but his weapon is
how you sell him, really.
His weapon is kind of his charm, and that's not really what you want in somebody that's about to get beat up. You know, like that's not entertaining to watch from my perspective. Like if somebody comes on and he's just kind of lovey-dovey, and then as soon as he gets punched in the mouth, be like, oh well, that's not fun.
Throw another one at you. We talked about the tag teaming. You know, if somebody had drafted Bill Clinton, do they get Hillary Clinton with him?
I mean, you could make the argument.
Like, I mean, we're talking WWE SmackDown, getting Hillary Clinton in the ring. Get Donald Trump in there. I mean,
I think the clarification we should make here is like you get to bring in some people. You get to bring in some people, but they have to stay outside the ring if they're like the posse. So like they can be like character players, but they can't come in and do the actions. You know,
and
what
do
I mean?
the fighting. Yeah. I kind of agree with that. I like where your head's at, though, Hans. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that kind of wraps it up. So, final question of the show: whose wrestling event of presidents are you guys most inclined to tune in for? Who did the best job of drafting a team here?
I really like Hans's team. I'm split between his and mine, if only just because of the pairings. Individually, I don't think any of these people work, but the fact that he got them kind of all together makes a lot of sense to me. But I still think the visuals of basically Trump versus the military for me is too good to pass up. So I'm gonna go with mine, but I think Hans would probably be my second choice.
I like your team for kind of a different reason, Preston. I think the Trump versus the military angle, I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit in the weeds.
I don't know about that. It's like payback.
Yeah.
You know, George Washington rises from the grave. The thing is, the
military loves Trump, though. Is the thing.
No, they actually don't. Believe it or not. Like polling and statistics and all that.
I think they do.
No.
It depends. It depends what news channel you watch, Daniel.
That's a great point. On the Drafted News Network, I'm right.
So, but that said, you know, I listened to all y'all shows. I think this is one of the top drafts where the number one pick was clearing away the number one pick. So I don't know. For me, having Donald Trump on Preston's team, like,
it's very strong.
That's it for me. Whoever had Donald Trump, you know, unless you really screwed up your draft, which I don't think Preston did, then I feel like it would have been hard to lose. So I think I like Preston's with best drafts.
Well, this is interesting because the two of you said that the worst picks were on your each other's teams, and now you're
yet,
picking each other's teams as the best teams.
And yet here we are. Very strange.
Minus Gerald Ford, minus Joe Biden.
Well, so I do think Joe Biden works on the team. I think he was drafted a little too high, but you know what? Maybe we're just wrong. Maybe he wasn't the worst pick. Maybe he was a fine pick because it's so comical. And I think there are ways you could make it work. I think I like Hans's team here. I do. I think Barack Obama, like, honestly, he was in my A tier, not my S tier in prep, but I think that was maybe a mistake. I think Barack Obama is such a poignant personality in like the modern political scope that I just think people would tune in. Like, whether you hate Barack Obama or love him, so many people are going to tune in for that. Taft gives you like the pure physical comedy. I think it's very comedic. Hans's lineup,
yes,
and I think maybe like Preston and I fell into the trap of like maybe just like best wrestling performance. But Hans would just be a riot. It would just be hilarious nonstop.
That's a good
point. So I think I'm going to give him my vote for this draft. I do think I'm hoping that I will have a good chance with the Twitch voters, just because of I drafted a lot of really strong characters. I do feel that way. So, but yeah, that wraps us up for the show. Hans, thank you so much for joining us. We always try to give it a slight political slant when you're on. So we hope you appreciated that.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, and Hans and I do another show called the Georgia Politics Podcast. If you want us to talk about like presidents not fighting each other to the death.
In a non-wrestling context.
In a non-wrestling
and of course,
context.
Check out all the podcasts over on the Appen Podcast Network. Hans and the folks at Appen do so much for us to help us bring you the show. We appreciate them so much. So try to show some love back to them by checking out their other shows.
Except don't follow him. He doesn't need more followers. He's got plenty. It's fine. Don't worry.
No. Don't follow Hans on Twitter. Just support the podcast. That's all I ask.
That's what he wants.
But Hans, thank you so much. This is a lot of fun. And also, be sure to vote over on Twitter. You guys ultimately decide who did win this episode. Join the Discord so you can join the conversation. Support us on Patreon if you're so inclined. Check us out in all the different places. YouTube, Instagram, you know where to find us. But yeah, for Preston and myself, we will talk to you guys next week.